Tennessee, come out and play.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big breaking TV.
Yo, what's poppin', Henny? Gang. Bar is open, y'all. I smell a debunking video coming on. Child. Least we not forget, this is Hennessy Reviews.
Of the prime time.
Yo, what's poppin', everybody? Welcome back to the bar. It's your girl, Henny, and I'm about to pour plenty of the hot Henny that y'all love to sip on. So, if you are new here, welcome. Please be sure to like, comment, and of course, subscribe. And don't forget to hit that like button, whether you're new or returning member of the Mob Down Henny Gang members. Yo. Now we gonna get into this content. Now I know. It may be a little light traffic in here because Henny's algorithm is all jacked up, but I'm not even worried about that because I know those of y'all that are loyal to the bar, loyal patrons, y'all find y'all way here regardless to what it is. So salute to all of y'all and hey to everybody that'll catch this on the replay because the replay gang, y'all be running it up for your girl. Now, 50 Cent made a post over the weekend asking a question of who is Tammy Cowins, right? And it got a lot of people to dig into looking and searching. Let me make sure I got what I want the way that I want it. And so a lot of information has been coming out. A lot of old interviews are beginning to resurface. People are hearing about a gentleman by the name of Cuffie, who is somehow caught up and tangled up in all of this. And baby, let me just say, these internet streets are on fire. Now, Henny, unbeknownst to the public, has been digging into BMF documents for quite some time now, okay? And I know a little bit about the story. And I know that some of this information may be repetitive, but one thing that Henny is going to do that I don't know if anyone else has already done, and if they have done it, well, Henny's going to do it her way, okay? I have court docs. So y'all that are here, dig in and get ready because we're going to delve into who Tammy Cowins is. Now, I know you guys saw the thumbnail and a lot of y'all are probably like, what? His bottom? Is that his bottom? Oh, it didn't work. My sensor didn't work. Oh, no. Okay, so we're having a problem, an issue with the soundboard. That's fine. But his bottom. And baby, once I read y'all these court docs, y'all gonna understand why. So let's go ahead and let's get this screen the way that I like this screen. And let's get our thumbnail the way that we like it over here at the bar. And we're gonna dive right on into this. Now, this first document that I am going to share with you guys is heavily redacted, okay? It is heavily redacted. And, you know, there are questions, but trust me, those questions that you all have will be answered. So let's just scroll through this document and let me show you how the redactions are there, okay? But what we're going to get into is all of the information. Y'all are going to be here for a while, so y'all might as well go ahead, get y'all glasses, okay? Get y'all blanket if you get in your blanket. If you at work, get comfortable in that chair, baby, because we probably going to be here from lunchtime to the time you make it home. All right. So let's start off with this document right here. And this is a report, an investigative report that was conducted by the United States Department of Justice. Let me go ahead and put on these glasses because you know when the glasses come on, it's about to get real. Shout out to everybody that is here. Shout out to all of the Henny snipers that are in the cipher right now and able to join. Can somebody drop the link to this in the snipers chat so everybody knows that we're live, just in case they haven't? If you have done it already, then thank you, because I'm not really paying attention, baby. This is why I didn't get any sleep over the weekend after being on a 4-hour live with Krishan and other Krishan, DJ Sky, content creator and blogger Fusan, and Krishan's friend Elle, as well as other 2 content creators and myself. So shout out to her. Happy 12-month anniversary to Selena, and happy 9-month anniversary to Jenny from the block. Happy 12-month anniversary to Uniquely Yours, because I wanted to stop for a second and acknowledge y'all. So now that I have done that already, let's get to it. Okay, so this is a synopsis, and we're going to do our best to read around the redactions. And trust me, even with the redactions, it's going to paint a picture of Tammy Cowin. Now, Tammy Cowin in this document is listed as CS1. So we have a CS2 back, and we've got a CS1 Tammy. All right. So it says the Department of Justice Office, the DOJ, Office of Inspector Generals, the OIG, initiated this investigation upon the receipt of information from the DEA. Okay, now let's pause right there and let me give you a little bit of backstory, because I didn't give you the backstory. Tammy Cowin was once, I don't know if you would call her the concubine or the whatever she was. She was once dealing with Blue Da Vinci, and she was dealing with Blue Da Vinci between 2003 to 2011. Okay, now when you fast forward to them getting arrested, they didn't get arrested until 2005. He was no longer dealing with Tammy, had no connections with Tammy. Somewhere between 2006 to roughly about 2008, maybe, Tammy came in contact with Meech. And between that time, you know, they had to develop a relationship, and they had to come up with this idea. Now, it is to my understanding that allegedly between 2006 to 2009, when Tammy became CS1, excuse me, Meech was already plotting on how to get out. Now, how do I know that? Because I've done my homework and I've done my investigation on this, okay? Tammy turned CS1 in 2009, and a whole plot and play was put together. And the reason why I'm going to read these court documents to you, and you're going to get a whole lot of information, is because when you walk away from this, I want you to know who Tammy is. I want you to know the plot that was put together. I want you to know who Cuffie is. And then we're going to figure out if this is the information that 50 is about to expose to the world. Okay, now that you've gotten that, let's get back into the document. All right. So it says, Office of Professional Responsibility, the OPR, alleging that DEA Group Supervisor GS Keith Cromer was made unjustified payments to DEA confidential sources, causing false statements to be made to justify the payments, and made false statements on documents relating to the suitability of a CS, which is a confidential source. Okay. This matter originated with an allegation that the OIG initially referred back to DEA. I hear it, but I don't know where it is. Okay. Alleged that he had referred back to the DEA, wherein CS, the confidential source, and they say the name, alleged that she had a personal relationship with Cromer. Okay, she being Tammy Cowins. Okay, which involved daily contact in person or by phone, actual contact on 7 or 8 occasions, and personal travel with him. And it says to where further alleged that Cromer used his official government vehicle to take blank on dates. Blank would be Tammy. But did you hear what that said? That this matter originated with an allegation that the OIG initially referred back to the DA, wherein CS alleged. So the source alleged that this happened. All right. While OPR was investigating the initial referred allegations, it developed additional information that DEA agents made payments to at Cromer's directions. Okay, that was not justified, and that agents prepared inaccurate DEA Form 6, okay, in support of these payments. After developing this additional information, OPR referred the allegations back to the OIG. The OIG developed information further alleging that Cromer instructed blank to lie to the DA inspectors regarding the nature of their relationship, shared non-public information with the CI relating to personal matters in this group, and allowed the CI to listen to his DEA radio while his group conducted operations. So at the end of the day, what they're alleging is that there was an actual relationship there. Okay? I'm going to read a little bit more just so that y'all can, I don't even think I really need to read a little bit more for y'all because I think that y'all understand everything. But again, like I said, this document is heavily redacted. All right. So you're going to get pieces of the story and not all of it. Okay. Acting on additional information, the OPR developed the OIG, also investigated whether DA Assistant Special Agent in charge authorized improper payments to the OIG investigation, substantiated the allegations that Cromer engaged in an inappropriate close relationship with, which would be Tammy. This involved A, regularly speaking with the CS, which is Tammy, regarding personal matters. B, meeting with Tammy alone at her residence. And C, allowing Tammy to be with Cromer's family members and friends who did not know that she was a DACS. Cromer also went on 2 personal trips with Tammy, including one during which he took Tammy to the residence of. And we don't know what residence he took her to, but he took her to somebody's residence, okay? Cromer admitted to the OIG that he had an inappropriate personal relationship with Tammy and that he failed to notify the DA supervisors of this inappropriate personal relationship with the DACS. Cromer, however, denied Tammy's allegations that he had a romantic and sexual relationship with her. He denied the agent's allegations that he had a romantic relationship with Tammy. We found that Cromer's interactions with Tammy were repeated, serious violations of the DEA standards of conduct, regardless of whether the relationship was a close personal one, as Cromer admits, or whether it crossed into a romantic one, as the other agent alleges. Now, we're going to put a pin in this, and I promise you we will come back to that court document, because what I want to get into with y'all right now is what we are talking about. How do you know that this is what happened, Henny? Where did you get this information from? Because if this document is heavily redacted, then where is this coming from? Don't worry. I'm going to show you. Because this is where it introduces a gentleman named Cuffie into the story. Cuffie's real name is Dion Gatlin, okay? Dion Gatlin was a longtime friend of Big Meech, and Cuffie was taken down by Tammy at Meech's direction. How do we know this? Because it says so in Cuffie's paperwork that we're getting ready to get into. Cuffie had what is called a Frank's hearing, okay? And what is a Frank's hearing, Henny? Let's go ahead and let's pull that up. I thought I pulled it up. Let's pull it up. And let's get to the meat and potatoes of all of this information. A Frank's hearing is a court proceeding where a defendant can challenge the validity of a search warrant by arguing that the police officer who obtained it provided false information, okay? Frank's hearings and false statements. A court proceeding wherein the court is asked to determine if the officer involved lied in obtaining his search warrant and information. So he had a Frank's hearing in order for them to open this up and investigate because of the information you're about to hear. So this took place in the Eastern District of Missouri. Now, if you remember, BMF stretched out across the nation. So if you were to ever go and start digging into BMF court docs, you're going to find court docs all over the place. Texas, Florida, Atlanta, This gentleman, Dion Gatling, was considered to be a part of the St. Louis BMF branch, Detroit, California. They were everywhere. Okay. So let's get into the memorandum of this case, and we're going to go into the facts. Okay, this matter was referred to the undersigned U.S. State Magistrate Judge for all pretrial matters, okay, pursuant to, and they give you the U.S. codes. Currently pending before the court is defendant's amended joint motion of memorandum to suppress wiretap evidence. You heard that right. Wiretap evidence, okay? Following Frank's hearing, doc number 402, defendants contend evidence resulting from court-authorized wire interception should be suppressed first because under the rationale of Franks versus Delaware, the affidavit submitted in support of the initial application for wiretap authorized contained false information and omitted material information that, once stricken and or considered, deprives the warrant application of probable cause. Defendant's second ground for suppression is that the affidavit submitted in support of the wiretap authorization failed to satisfy the necessary requirements set out in 18 U.S. Code subsection 2518. Well, you know, those are the codes and all of that. I ain't good at reading those codes, but here we go. Defendant challenged the validity of the wiretap affidavit under Franks after learning that a DEA Atlanta group supervisor, Keith Cromer, and one or more of his direct reports were being investigated by the Office of Professional Responsibility, which is the OPR, and the Office Inspector General, OIG, for, among other things, an allegedly inappropriate relationship between Agent Cromer and confidential source, improper payments to the confidential source, and falsified reports to justify improper payments. Based on what was known about the investigation at the time, the United States conceded that defendants were entitled to a Franks hearing and agreed to disclose materials related to the investigation to defense counsel. Okay. Frank's hearing began on October 17th of 2016 and continued daily until October 21st of 2016. The hearing was recessed on October 21st, 2016 until January 9th, 2017, to permit time for parties to obtain cell phone data and telephone records whose relevance became apparent during the course of the hearing. Testimony resumed on January 9th and 10th, and the hearing was recessed again until January 19th due to witness availability. The hearing concluded on February 14th of 2017. After all evidence was submitted, the parties requested and were granted leave to file post-hearing briefs. After several requests for additional time were filed and granted, the motion was fully briefed on September 21st of 2017 and is now ready for ruling. After carefully considering the parties' written submissions and all of the evidence presented during the evidentiary hearing, I make the following findings of fact, conclusions of law. Okay? How y'all doing down there? Let me see what some of y'all are saying out here. Always here for the content. Absolutely. Y'all sure do. Loyalty. Yes, y'all always find me. The Henny glasses are in there. Love me some 50. Henny snipers. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. Thank you, Selena, for putting that in the snipers chat. Working with Blanket at home. I know that's right. Hey, good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. She was doing him. Yes, she was. Yes, y'all are hearing this correctly. I need my snacks for this Henny, baby. You better get your snacks, your lunch, and probably your dinner too. Oh, okay. I know exactly who she is now. Not it snitches. What? Not it snitches on the inside. Girl. Hey, one hot mama. All right. So we going to get into the actual findings right now. All right. It says Title 3, warrant affidavit in order. On August 28th of 2012, Assistant United States Attorney Tiffany Becker appeared before United States District Judge Henry E. Autry and made an amended application for interception of wire communications over the Sprint brand cellular telephone resold to Total call prepaid bearing the cell phone number, and there's the cell phone number and the EIN number, okay? The application was accompanied by a referenced and referenced the affidavit of OTF Buds, which was also signed and sworn before Judge Autry on August 28th of 2012. The facts that formed the basis for the wiretap authorization were set out in the affidavit and can be roughly grouped in 5 categories. First, the affidavit asserted facts regarding events on August 5th, 2012, which triggered the investigation. Namely, the affidavit asserted that on August 5th, 2012, a confidential source being utilized by DEA Atlanta CS1 alerted DEA Atlanta agents to be suspected to a suspected drug transaction occurring in St. Louis between suspected source of supply Fidel Suarez and defendant Dion Gatlin. Okay, and they have the government exhibit. Specifically, CS1 advised DEA Atlanta agents that we don't have to say he, she was contacted by Suarez, who said he had a truck in St. Louis for a suspected narcotics transaction with Gatlin. Suarez was having trouble reaching Gatlin and asked CS1 for help. In attempting to help Suarez get in contact with Gatlin, CS1 had a flurry of calls with Gatlin and Suarez. CS1 was ultimately successful in contact and connecting Suarez and Gatlin, who was using a telephone that became the target of the wiretap. Second, the affidavit asserted facts relating to both the CS1's reliability and an informant and measured DEA. Thank you. No. I'm sorry, y'all. Hold on 1 second.
I didn't see
Here.
the thing there, so I didn't want to interrupt.
Well, you just did, sweetie. It's okay.
I didn't need to.
Use the chime. Okay. Second, the affidavit asserted facts relating to both CS1's reliability as an informant and measures DEA St. Louis investigators took to corroborate information provided by CS1. As to CS1's reliability, the affidavit attested that CS1 was cooperating with the DEA for monetary gain, had been shown to provide reliable information to the DEA regarding a multitude of felonious activities, and had provided information that resulted in the arrest of at least one individual and the seizure of drugs and U.S. currency. Okay, at note 3. As for corroboration by DEA St. Louis, the affidavit asserted that DEA St. Louis investigators corroborated information from CS1 by using toll analysis of devices used by CS1, okay, Gatling and Suarez on August 5th of 2012. So, baby, talking to her got you on a wiretap. Once your number came through her phone, hello, they put you on the wiretap too, and then she corroborated. Yeah, so that's the person you want to get this day phone number. That's what she was doing. All right, now y'all got the visual. Now we gonna continue on. Okay, court authorized precision location information, the GPS. Y'all like to keep that GPS location on all the time. Did you do it? Y'all like to keep that GPS location on all the time? It's gonna cost you. You never know who it is that you're talking to that might have a case on them. And if they got a case on them, baby, they will pull you in and you will be guilty by association. Thank you, love. All right. So, all right. It says, past criminal investigations and information from the DEA Atlanta agents who monitored some but not all of the calls between Gatlin and Suarez and CS1 on August 5th. So the DEA agents down in Atlanta were monitoring some of their calls, but they didn't monitor all of them on August 5th. So there was somebody sitting there with them headphones listening like, yo, bro, you hear this? I hear it. Well, let's call it in. That's what they was doing. All right. Third, the affidavit asserted facts related to a suspected drug suspected drug distribution conspiracy between Demetrius Flannery, Dion Gatling, and Fidel Suarez. Did y'all catch that? I'm going to read that again for those who did not catch it and those who may have just came in. Exactly. Turn off them GPSs. Third, the affidavit asserted facts related to a suspected drug distribution conspiracy between Demetrius Flannery, Big Meech, Dion Gatling, and Fidel Suarez. More specifically, the affidavit asserted that Demetrius Flannery was the purported national leader of Black Mafia Family BMF, drug trafficking organization, and had been sentenced to 30 years imprisonment for drug trafficking activities. The affidavit further asserted that, based on information previously known to DEA St. Louis, Dion Gatling was a member of St. Louis BMF with an association of Flannery, had substantial ties to multiple BMF members, had been indicted in the Eastern District of Missouri on drug trafficking charges and sentenced to 120 months incarceration for drug trafficking. Let me pull my microphone. Y'all don't get to see the microphone that often anymore, but let me pull this closer to me. So they already have the information that they need. And this implicates Big Meech. But I know y'all are probably going to say, well, that just says that he knows him. And they know that he's affiliated with him and he's associated with him. But that still doesn't tell us anything. Let's continue. The affidavit asserted that based on information from CS1 and an independent investigation by DEA St. Louis agents, Suarez owned and operated a trucking company in California and had been investigated and or arrested without conviction for suspected drug trafficking in 2005 and 2009. In addition, an independent investigation by DEA St. Louis agents revealed 2 large quantity drug seizures from a truck operated by Suarez's trucking company. Finally, the affidavit attested that based on information CS1 provided to DEA Atlanta agents, Flannery and Suarez became associated while both were incarcerated. And for monetary gain, Flannery arranged through CS1 for Suarez to provide cocaine in multiple kilogram quantities to Gatling. Y'all need me to repeat that? Henny glasses in the chat if y'all want me to repeat that. Did y'all catch that whole third? Because, yeah, what we just heard was how Gatling knows Meech and how CS1 came into play. What we also heard was it was a transaction between Gatling and Suarez. Oh, y'all want me to read it again? Okay. We're going to take it from the top, make it hot. This some hot ass Henny. All right. The affidavit asserted facts related to a suspected drug distribution conspiracy between Demetrius Flannery, Dion Gatling, and Fidel Suarez. More specifically, the affidavit asserted that Demetrius Flannery was the purported national leader of Black Mafia Family BMF, drug trafficking organization, and had been sentenced to 30 years imprisonment for drug trafficking activities. The affidavit further asserted that based on information previously known to DEA St. Louis, Dion Gatling was a member of St. Louis BMF, was associated with Flannery, had substantial ties to multiple BMF members, had been indicted in the Eastern District of Missouri on drug trafficking charges, and sentenced to 120 months incarceration for drug trafficking. The affidavit asserted that based on information from CS1 Tammy Cowin, and an independent investigation by DEA St. Louis agents, Suarez owned and operated a trucking company in California and had been investigated and or arrested without conviction or for suspected drug trafficking in 2005 and in 2009. In addition, an independent investigation, meaning separate from the investigation that was already going on, by DEA St. Louis agents revealed 2 large quantity drug seizures from a truck operated by Suarez's trucking company. Finally, the affidavit attested that based on information CS1 provided to DEA Atlanta agents, Flannery and Suarez became associated while both were incarcerated. And for monetary gain, Flannery arranged through CS1 for Suarez to provide cocaine in multiple kilogram quantities to Gatlin. Gatlin is Cuffie. So what they basically said was Gatlin has a tie to Meech. Okay, Cuffie is tied to Meech through BMF St. Louis. Tammy, who we know is connected to Meech, has been in contact with Cuffie. Meech met Fidel Suarez while he was incarcerated. Because Fidel got picked up and became close with Meech. What I do know through information that you guys will hear later is Fidel is a member of the Cars and Tails. And Meech reached out to him to make a delivery to Cuffie. And how Meech reached out to Suarez to set that up was through CS1. Y'all got it. CS1 being Tammy. Fourth, the asserted facts relating to contacts between CS1, Gatlin, and Suarez in the year leading up to the events of August 5th, 2012. Specifically, the affidavit asserted that toll analysis of devices used by Suarez and Gatlin indicated they had been talking regularly since March of 2012, and that we're going to stop calling him Gatlin and we're going to call him Cuffie. Okay, and that Cuffie began using the target telephone in February of 2012. The affidavit also asserted that Tammy had contact with Suarez and Cuffie and was aware that Suarez had been in contact with Cuffie and traveled to St. Louis prior to August of 2012. But Tammy was not involved in any drug transactions directly with Suarez and or Cuffie. And CS1 did not participate in any earlier conversations between Suarez and Cuffie. Thus, CS1, Tammy, could not relay the content of those earlier discussions. According to the affidavit, Tammy advised investigators of a trip Suarez took to St. Louis in July of 2012. Suarez, present in St. Louis in July of 2012, was in St. Louis in July of 2012 was corroborated by an investigation of Suarez on July 23rd of 2012, independent of this case, in which DEA agents in St. Louis surveilled and questioned Suarez for suspicious conduct described in the affidavit. Fifth, the affidavit attested that a wiretap was necessary. Specifically, the affidavit described various investigative tools that have been considered and or used in the investigation to date, including physical surveillance, use of confidential informants, undercover officers, PIN registers, telephone toll records analysis, witness interviews, search warrants, trash pulls, interviews with target witnesses, and use of grand jury proceedings, review of police records, use of electronic surveillance, cellular location devices, tracking devices, and prior Title III interceptions. So they did all of this Okay. The affidavit recited in detail investigative tools used in the investigation and why each tool had not been successful or was unlikely to be successful. On August 28th of 2012, Judge Autry signed an amended order authorizing the interception of wire communication of target telephone number 1. The order states that the court found probable cause to believe that the listed individuals were committing violations and that communications concerning the offenses were likely to be intercepted. The order further found that normal investigative techniques had been tried and had failed, reasonably appeared to be unlikely to succeed if tried, or were too dangerous to be employed. The order authorized the wiretap interception for 30 days. So basically, they did everything or analyzed everything that they could use to try to gather information and evidence on Cuffie and Suarez via CS1's instruction or direction, because Cuffie was under investigation at this point. Okay. Now we're going to get into the OPR and the OIG investigations of Cuffie's case. Okay. Documents contained in the court's electronic docket in this case reflect that on March 18th of 2015, former retained counsel for Cuffie advised the government via email that Tammy had contacted one of his associates, claiming, among other things, that the wiretap affidavit was factually inaccurate. She all over the chessboard, ain't she? She's telling them that the wiretaps are inaccurate. Contacting Cuffie lawyers. CS1 also, which is Tammy, reportedly told the associate that the DEA agent in Atlanta who was referenced in the affidavit had been suspected or was under investigation. Attorneys for the government apparently looked into the allegations and advised the court and defense counsel that the DEA Office of Professional Responsibility, the OPR, was in fact investigating possible misconduct of one or more DEA agents who provided material information to the investigation in this case, including DEA Atlanta Group Supervisor Keith Cromer. At a hearing on April 27th of 2015, the United States conceded on the record that based on what was known about the internal investigation, all defendants were entitled to a Franks hearing. The United States further acknowledged that defense counsel were entitled to additional disclosures related to investigation pursuant to the government's obligation under Brady, Bragley, and Giglio. All right. Looks like Puffy will be walking. This ain't Puffy. This is Cuffie. 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 Cuffie, not Puffy. Cuffie. Okay. At a status hearing on November 4th of 2015, the United States disclosed that there was additional information related to the internal OPR investigation, as well as a criminal investigation by the Office of Internal Inspector General. OIG had only recently become revealed to St. Louis prosecutors. Okay, Agent Cromer and some of his direct reports were targets of the OPR and the OIG investigation, and documents from the investigation reflect that Agent Cromer contested the claimed misconduct. The United States produced OPR and OIG documents on a rolling basis to defense counsel between February of 2016 and early parts of May 2016. That's what you would think, Antonio James, but trust me, babe, we're going to get all up in this. Okay, at the evidentiary hearing, the United States presented testimony of 6 witnesses and documentary evidence regarding the veracity of the statements in the affidavit. Specifically, the United States presented the testimony of CS1, who testified about the events of August 5th, 2012, and about the relationship between CS1, Demetrius Flannery, Cuffie, and Fidel Suarez. The United States also presented testimony of retired DEA Atlanta Special Agent Jack Harvey, who testified about how CS1 Tammy came to be a confidential source for the DEA. Tammy's role with Agent Harvey was the controlling agent for CS1, and events leading up to the OPR and OIG investigations into Agent Cromer and others. DEA Atlanta Special Agent James Davidson testified about threats directed to CS1 in the spring of 2015 after electronically filed court documents in this case became publicly available. Finally, the United States presented testimony of DEA St. Louis agents who had responsibility for preparing the affidavit, Task Force Officer Robert Lane. Okay. And then they go on to listing all of the officers there. Defendants presented testimony of 7 witnesses and documentary evidence regarding the veracity of the statements in affidavit, the relationship between CS1 and Agent Cromer, payments made to CS1 or at the direction of Agent Cromer, and CS1's contribution or lack of contribution to investigations for which CS1 received former compensation. Specifically, in addition to cross-examining the United States witnesses regarding statements in the affidavit, defendants presented testimony of Agent Cromer. And then they go on to list where the excerpts are, okay, and the other people that spoke. Defendants also presented testimony of DEA Atlanta Special Agent Mara Hewitt, who was the case agent on an investigation which CS1 received compensation, but according to Agent Hewitt, provided no known information of value. She's getting paid, and she's not giving information to get paid. Now, I did read a document. Let me just show y'all this document really quickly. When I was doing my research, I read this Office of Inspector General's, their audit. And in this document, let me read this part to you really quickly. Okay, it says that it's up here. The DEA considers its confidential source program to be crucial to its pursuit of illegal narcotics trafficking. However, confidential sources can be motivated by factors other than combating crime, including financial gain and avoidance of punishment. Therefore, care must be taken to evaluate and supervise their use. Between October 1st of 2010 and September 30th of 2015, the DEA had over 18,000 active confidential sources assigned to its domestic offices, with over 9,000 of those sources receiving approximately $237 million in payments for information or services they provided to the DEA. In July of 2015, the Department of Justice, Office of the Inspector Generals, issued a report on the DEA's confidential sources policy and its oversight of higher risk confidential sources. We found DEA's confidential source policies were not in full compliance with the Attorney General's guidelines regarding the use of confidential informants. In this review, we concluded that DEA's management and oversight of and policies governing its confidential source program required significant improvement. In particular, we found DEA field offices bear disproportionate responsibility for confidential source management and review. For example, DEA headquarters offices do not provide compensative oversight to ensure that the field office establishment of the use of sources and payments to them are appropriate. Okay. And then we're going to jump down to here and get back in. We found that the DEA did not adequately oversee payments to its sources, which exposed the DEA to an unacceptable increased potential for fraud, waste, and abuse, particularly given the frequency with which DEA offices utilized and paid confidential sources. For example, while DEA policy prohibits paying deactivated confidential sources, okay, who were deactivated because of an arrest warrant or for committing a source offense. We found 2 concerning instances of payments to previously deactivated sources. In one case, the DEA reactivated a confidential source who previously provided false testimony in trials and depositions. During the approximate 5-year period of reactivation, the source was used by 13 DEA field offices and was paid $469,158. More than $61,000 of the $469,158 was paid after this source was once again deactivated for making false statements. Now, why did you go there, Henny? Because this, yes, 18,000 confidential sources at that point. That was at that point. Remember, that document is from an investigation that they did between October 1st of 2010 and September 30th of 2015. So they had 18,000 at that time. Who knows what they have now? But I read that portion because they were doing an audit of the confidential sources and how they were getting paid. And it lists improper payments in there. And so now you hear where Agent Hewitt is saying that CS1 received compensation, but according to the agent, provided no known information of value. So this is something that was going on around that time. Because remember, this was going down. This is in 2018, but all of this stuff was going on around that time that they were doing this investigation inside about confidential sources getting paid. So for anyone to say, hell no, there's no way, honey, I read that paperwork that from the Department of Justice. So hell yeah, there is a way. Let's continue. Finally, defendants presented deposition testimony and testimony of Agent Cromer's former supervisor, retired DEA Special Agent John Murphy. Yes, it looks like. Who testified about DEA policies and procedures surrounding payment of confidential informants and Agent Murphy's involvement in the events leading up to the OPR and the OIG investigation of Agent Cromer. Based on my observation of the witnesses during the hearing, I found all the witnesses presented by the United States to be credible witnesses, with the exception of CS1, with the exception of Tammy, whose testimony was not entirely credible for reasons addressed more fully below. We're going to get into it, baby. I similarly found the defense witnesses to be credible, although their testimony was not always directly relevant to the narrow issue before the court. To the extent a defense witness's testimony was not fully credible, I have noted that below. Now, let me take a swig of water because you see where it says CS1, and I need to plug this fan in. It's a little hot in Florida today. It's a little hot in Florida today. Let me make sure y'all can hear me good. Can y'all hear me good? Damn it. Damn paperwork. I'm dropping it on them. I'm dropping them on them. Can y'all hear me good? Okay. Because I had to put the fan on. I'm hot. Okay. I'm hot. I'm in my 40s and I don't need a hot flash because this camera will go off, baby. All right. So let's get into CS1. Y'all pay attention because CS1 is Tammy. CS1 first became a confidential informant for DEA Atlanta in 2009. Now, remember, I told y'all Meech had a relationship with her somewhere between 2000 and, let me look at my note, because I have notes, baby. I've been doing footwork and leg work somewhere between 2006 all the way up until she became a confidential source is when she came into contact with him. Remember that. All right. See, oh, salute to Active Chuck. Salute to Mud up in here. I see y'all. CS1, Tammy, first became a confidential informant for DEA Atlanta in 2009 when she provided information in a money laundering case, which resulted in the successful prosecution and conviction of an individual named Terry White. Now, pause. Terry White is important because that was like her trial. That was like her test of loyalty, so to speak, because she also went after Terry White and got him arrested. Don't worry, we're going to pull the Terry White files. We ain't done with Tammy Cowin. There's a lot. There's a lot. Okay. Now, although Tammy was not initially a paid DEA informant, Tammy's controlling agent, Agent Harvey, put Tammy in for an award that would be a percentage of the value of property forfeited by White, because information provided by Tammy was so beneficial to the DEA that the DEA made seizures from White. Hold on, let me reread that. This is making too much noise for me. I'm gonna read that again. Tammy first became a confidential informant for the DEA Atlanta in 2009 when she provided information in a money laundering case, which resulted in the successful prosecution and conviction of an individual named Terry White. Okay. Although Tammy was not initially a paid DEA informant, Tammy's controlling agent, Agent Harvey, put Tammy in for an award that would be a percentage of the value of property forfeited by White, because information provided by Tammy was so beneficial that the DEA made seizures from White. She got a percentage. She got a percentage of the property that they seized and he forfeited. Man, listen. After Agent Harvey retired in 2011, Tammy became a paid DEA informant under the supervision of TFO Fred Swoop or Swoopy. I'm going to say Swoop. And TFO Swoop supervisor, DEA Atlanta Group Supervision, Keith Cromer, who would later become the dude that she's smashing. All right. Although the precise scope of CS1 Tammy's duties after Agent Harvey's retirement is not entirely clear, Tammy testified credibility that she was paid on a monthly basis for things like picking up money or drugs and making telephone calls in drug investigations. I'm about to turn that off because y'all got to hear this, okay? Okay. She just admitted in her testimony that she has credibility because she was paid on a monthly basis. Monthly basis. She gets paid for things like picking up money or drugs and or making phone calls in drug investigations. According to the testimony of Agent Cromer, Tammy was paid on a monthly basis for providing actionable information, i.e. information that could lead investigators to a drug source of supply and ongoing long-term drug investigations. For example, according to Agent Cromer, information from Tammy that Fidel Suarez, and a California-based Mexican, nationally known to law enforcement to be a suspected drug distributor and Gatling or Cuff, were conspiring to engage in drug trafficking activity, was the sort of actionable information for which Tammy might receive payment. Now, if you are still sitting here saying that you don't understand the link between Tammy and Meech, and you don't know if CS1 is Tammy, I don't know what to tell you, because who else is Meech going to send to do all of this, and who else is linked to all of this? Baby, this lady was working. And when I say this Meech bottom bitch, I mean that, because look at what she's doing. But instead of being on a whole stroll, she was working through the judicial system. I can't even do my damn thing with the soundboard right now. Okay. where okay, they were conspiring, might receive. Okay, so she told on them that they were getting ready to do this transaction, right? And this sort of action, actionable information for which Tammy might receive payment. So because she gave them this, she gonna get this. Sometime after Tammy became a paid DEA informant, in violation of DEA policy, Tammy and Agent Cromer developed an intimate personal relationship. Specifically, according to Tammy, Tammy and Agent Cromer developed a relationship that started as a friendship and evolved into a sexual relationship that lasted through 2012. So now, not only is she snitching and getting people lined up, she done lined up Agent Cromer going in there telling them about her relationship with him. Let me take a sip of water. This nasty work. This is nasty work. Okay. Okay. Agent Cromer admitted that his relationship with Tammy became personal in violation of DEA policy, but denied that there was ever sexual, that it was ever sexual in nature. Henny in the and Henny glasses in the chat if y'all call bullshit, because ain't no way. Okay. There is no evidence that either the St. Louis agents who prepared the affidavit or the Atlanta agents who worked with Agent Cromer and Tammy were aware of their relationship. Although Agent Cromer testified that all of the payments made to Tammy during her tenure as a paid informant were proper, testimony of Agent Murphy and TFO Smith, as well as Agent Harvey, called into question the property under DNA policy of Agent Cromer's authorization of payments to Tammy on nearly monthly basis. Now, y'all saying y'all calling bullshit, and I don't blame y'all. Hey, Bird. All right. I'm trying to skip over all this extra stuff that they say here. All right. So, in addition, testimony by Agent Hewitt and TFO Hook suggested that CS1 Tammy may have inappropriately received an award for an investigation for which CS2. Now, no, they not talking about CS2 three-finger PP licking whack. They not talking about him. But there was a CS2 investigation which CS2 actually provided actionable information. Okay, so somebody provided actionable information, but they're questioning her credibility on that one. All right. However, there was no evidence presented that suggested that Tammy lacked personal knowledge of the information incorporated into the affidavit at issue in the case, and or that in providing information to agents, Tammy was somehow taking credit for information known by another informant. So now she's stealing from another informant. I need my soundboard back up. I can't hit none of my sounds, Jesus. I got the bomb, but I can't hit none of my usual sounds. Anyway, so now we get into Tammy's relationship with Big Meech, Suarez, and Cuffie. Y'all ready? Let's go. When Tammy became a DEA informant, Tammy was and had been a longtime friend and associate of Demetrius Flannery. From here on out, we will call him Big Meech. Specifically, Tammy held Big Meech's power of attorney and life rights with creative control. The right to tell, and what that means is she has the right to tell and presumably sell Big Meech's life story for profit. Now, if she ain't his bottom bitch, what else would she be? Because ain't no way a person like Big Meech giving away his life rights to somebody, that is big money. That's big money. Ain't no way. Both Agent Harvey and Agent Cromer were aware of Tammy's relationship with Big Meech. Tammy testified that Big Meech was very well known, and it was not all unusual for Tammy to receive calls from total strangers asking about Big Meech. It was due to Tammy's relationship with Flannery that Tammy first came into contact with both Fidel Suarez and Cuffie. Meech put Tammy into communication and contact with Cuffie and Fidel Suarez, which I told you Suarez has ties to the Cars and Tails. In September 2011, Flannery requested Tammy's help coordinating delivery of a load of cocaine to be controlled by Suarez, who at that point was already in contact with Tammy. Tammy's credibility testified that she first met Suarez by telephone when Suarez contacted Tammy to ask how Flannery, Big Meech, was doing. Big Meech confirmed that he and Suarez were friends and that they had met in the county jail in Michigan. Although Tammy did not meet Suarez in person, she spoke with Suarez by phone and text. Additionally, Suarez sent Tammy a picture of himself. Sometime in 2012, Suarez asked Tammy if she knew someone who might want to buy some pills. According to Tammy, she was in the car with Agent Cromer during the first narcotic-related conversation with Suarez. Agent Cromer overheard the call and signaled to Tammy to say yes, she knew someone. Tammy was later contacted by an agent in California regarding Suarez. As with Suarez, defendant Cuffie first contact with Tammy was to see how Big Meech was doing in jail. Based on discussions with both Cuffie and Big Meech and Tammy, understood that Cuffie and Big Meech were friends. Emphasis on that. They were friends. Initially, Tammy's relationship with Cuffie was more of a business relationship, and communication centered more around Big Meech's life rights. And there's a reason for that. However, at some point, Big Meech asked Tammy to connect Cuffie with Suarez, and the relationship between Tammy, Cuffie, and Suarez turned to narcotics. Now, no, I'm not going to ruin it for y'all. I'm going to keep reading. Telephone toll records reflect that Suarez and Cuffie were in contact with each other on various devices from as early as March 2012. Through August of 2012. All right. Although telephone toll records show that during the same time period, Suarez and with less frequency, Cuffie were in contact with Tammy. There was no evidence that suggests that Tammy participated in any of the earlier telephone calls between Suarez and Cuffie. In July of 2012, Suarez invited Tammy to join him on a road trip to St. Louis without stating why he was going to St. Louis. Tammy declined. Telephone toll records reflect that Suarez contacted Tammy while Suarez, was in St. Louis. At the evidentiary hearing, CS1 denied that Flannery had any involvement in any drug trafficking activities between Suarez and Cuffie, and denied that Tammy ever informed DEA agents that Big Meech was so involved. Tammy also denied that she ever informed DEA agents that Big Meech directed Tammy to contact Cuffie and Suarez. However, this aspect of Tammy's testimony is not credible for at least 3 reasons. Let me take a sip. Dang, I wish my algorithm wasn't jacked up right now. Yeah, ready? We're going to get into those 3 reasons right now. Okay, first, Tammy's testimony conflicts with the testimony of TFO Lang, the DEA St. Louis agent who interviewed Tammy about the events of August 5th. TFO Lang credibly testified that during his debrief of Tammy on August 6th of 2012, Tammy told him that Tammy had facilitated the introduction of Cuffie and Suarez at Big Meech's request. So she trying to say he wasn't involved, but you done already told that he was involved. Second, Tammy's testimony also conflicts with the contemporaneous contemporaneous, I can't say that word. Anyway, 2011 notes of DEA Atlanta investigator TFO Smith, which were introduced into evidence. Okay. Those notes are consistent with assertions in the affidavits regarding Big Meech's involvement in the suspected drug conspiracy. Finally, evidence presented at the hearing demonstrated that Tammy faced actual and perceptive threats when court filings in this case related to Tammy's identity. Tammy was receiving threats. Y'all tell me down in the comments who you think was threatening her. Specifically, on February 6th, 2015, all defendants in this case filed pretrial motions, including separate motions to suppress wiretap evidence. In March of 2015, Tammy reviewed the electronic dockets in this case and saw information contained in defendant Cuffie's suppression motion and responsive submissions by the United States that Tammy believed would potentially allow people familiar with circumstances to determine Tammy's identity. So somehow or another, this lady, done seen paperwork in Cuffie's file that would compromise her identity. Upon reviewing the court filings in this case, Tammy contacted her controlling DEA agent at the time, James Davison. Okay, Agent Davison testified at the evidentiary hearing that Tammy's expressed concern that motions filed in this case and the government's response to those motions contain specific detailed information that Tammy feared would reveal her identity or make it much easier for someone to figure out Tammy's identity. Okay. Tammy panicked and took several measures to try to protect herself. Now, let me stop right there for a second because, girl, once we read all of this paperwork and we see all of this that's going on, it's not hard to figure out who CS1 is. It's not hard. And it looks like the public has already figured it out. Okay? Those materials included contacting the undersigned magistrate judge, whose chambers referred Tammy to the United States Attorney's Office, and driving several hours to Louisiana soon after learning about the court's filing to attempt to see Big Meech to try to explain her position and try to deflect any accusations coming Tammy's way. Although it appears that Tammy did not speak with Big Meech in Louisiana on March 6th, Tammy's hearing testimony suggested that when Tammy did finally speak with Meech, he advised Tammy he didn't want his name caught up in this mess. In addition to Tammy's perception that she was in danger because of the revelations, Agent Davidson's credibly testified that Tammy faced actual threats in the weeks and months following the court filings in March of 2015 through the time of the Franks hearing. So again, I ask y'all, who do you think was threatening her? In a further attempt to protect herself, in the spring of 2015, Tammy stated in a draft affidavit that the wiretap affidavit contained false information and outlined a different version of events from what is set out in the affidavit. Now she's trying to clean it up to protect herself, but it's too late. Tammy never signed the draft affidavit or swore to it, but Tammy relayed some of the information in the unsworn affidavit to Cuffie's formal counsel. So she's trying to reach out to Cuffie's lawyers to retract what she already did to try to protect herself and to try to get Meech's name up out of it. So she reached out to Cuffie's former lawyer, DEA agents, and prosecutors from the U.S. Attorney's Office in St. Louis. Also, threatened to circulate the unsworn affidavit to all parties involved, including the undersigned. Tammy's unsworn affidavit specifically takes issue with statements in the wiretap affidavit suggesting that Meech hooked up the deal between Gatling and Suarez. She trying to get that taken out. but you can't. It's too late. Too late to apologize. It's too late. Okay, I'm sorry. I can't sing for nothing. But anyway, the unsworn affidavit suggested instead that Agent Cromer implicated Big Meech because he was jealous of Big Meech's relationship with Tammy. This backdrop of actual and perceived threats of Tammy's demise threats to Tammy diminishes the credibility of Tammy's testimony and instead very strongly suggests that perhaps due to Tammy's personal and business relationship, as well as out of concerns for her own safety and the safety of Big Meech, Tammy had lost my place. Tammy had an incentive to attempt to distance Big Meech from Suarez and Gatling. Sorry, I'm getting an Amber Alert. It's setting everything off. Okay. Now, we're going to go to the events that happened on August 5th of 2012. Hold on. Before we get into those events, let me just say this. If you decide that you want to become a CI and you decide to put yourself out there, never think yourself too smart that you're going to be able to hide from people putting puzzle pieces together. Not only that, when you have people that are involved in this case that are able to make the connections between you and other people, not just this case, any case, when there's outside people involved in that case, don't ever be naive into thinking that people won't put the pieces together, because they have. Okay? They have. Now, on August 5th, 2012, at approximately 11 a.m., Suarez began contacting Tammy using two different telephone numbers. He sent Tammy text messages, and they put the telephone number there, and placed voice calls to Tammy from telephone number ending in 6591. All right. Specifically around 11 a.m., Suarez contacted Tammy, sent Tammy a text message asking Tammy to call Cuff, aka Gatling, and tell Cuff to give Suarez a number so that Suarez could talk to him. Tammy responded shortly thereafter, indicating she would do so when she got home. A little more than an hour later, at approximately 12:18 p.m., Suarez placed a voice call to Tammy. And when he did not reach Tammy, he sent a text message indicating he was trying to call and asking Tammy to pick up. All right. In an apparent response to Suarez's request, Tammy placed a call to Cuffie at approximately 12:43 p.m., but did not reach him. Suarez's desire to connect with Cuffie and Tammy on August 5th, 2012 appears to have been a matter of some urgency. Between 12:18 and 1:05 p.m., Suarez placed 14 calls to Tammy and sent a text message asking if Tammy was still busy. Okay, it appears from toll and telephone records that at approximately 1:05 p.m., Suarez finally connected with Tammy by telephone and spoke with Tammy for approximately 1 minute and 35 seconds. Although it does not appear that Suarez actually spoke with Tammy prior to the call at 1:05 p.m., it appears from the evidence of record that Suarez left one or more voicemails on Tammy's phone, and that Tammy accessed those voicemails during the relevant time frame on August 5th. After speaking with Suarez at 1:05 p.m., Tammy sent Agent Cromer a text message around 1:09 asking him to call back and indicating it was just business. Now, if y'all weren't sleeping together, why would you have to say it's just business? Okay. My word. At the time, Agent Cromer was returning by car from an out-of-town trip with his family and did not immediately respond. At 1:11 p.m., Suarez sent Tammy a text with a phone number ending in 4269. 15 minutes later at 1:26 p.m., Suarez texts again, just in case he wouldn't know, it's 3:14. Apparently referencing the area code to the 4269 number he had just texted. Cuffie returning Tammy's earlier call and left a voicemail. Okay? Tammy returned Cuffie's call and spoke with Cuffie for approximately 4 minutes and 30 seconds. After the call with Cuffie, Tammy once again called Agent Cromer, who finally called Tammy back around 2:17 p.m. Once Tammy made contact with Agent Cromer, Tammy spoke with Agent Cromer for over 7 minutes, presumably bringing him up to speed. Toll and telephone calls established that Tammy attempted to reach Cuffie around 2:24 p.m. Around the same time, Cuffie called Tammy using the telephone number that became, the target of the wiretap. However, Cuffie's call from the target telephone was routed to Tammy's voicemail. Are y'all following this? Because this is giving you the case. This is giving you how it all led up. So let me bring you up to speed before we continue on. What happened was Suarez called Tammy and was trying to get in touch with her because he was trying to get in touch with Cuffie. Tammy calls Agent Cromer, tells Agent Cromer what's going on. Cuffie and Suarez, unbeknownst to them, are communicating with Tammy, who's giving Agent Cromer all of this information. That's where we are. Didn't Meech just get out of prison? Meech did just get out of prison, but we are talking about the things that he has done. Him and Tammy. All right, where are we? Added Cromer. Okay. All right. At approximately 2:24 p.m., Cuffie called Tammy using the target phone, and unbeknownst to Cuffie, Tammy had added Cromer to the call via three-way. Yo, she had the agent on the phone three-way. She had the agent on a three-way call. So he's sitting there on mute listening to everything that's going on while they're having this conversation. Child. Around the time of the three-way call, Tammy, Cuffie, and Cromer, Suarez sent Tammy a text message asking if Cuffie had answered Tammy. Tammy responded by text stating, yes, he's trying to call you now and you are not picking up. To which Suarez responded, give him that number I gave you. The number that's ending in 4269. New number. I lost the other phone. Tammy contacted Agent Cromer immediately after receiving this information from Suarez, and then, based on toll records, received a call from Cuffie around 2:29, during which Tammy provided Cuffie with the new number from Suarez. Toll records reflecting a 10-minute call between Cuffie and Suarez shortly after Tammy spoke with Cuffie. Although the telephone and toll records do not reflect the content of the discussion between Tammy, Cuffie, and Suarez, Tammy credibly testified that when she spoke with Suarez on August 5th, Suarez was upset or frustrated because he had been trying to reach Cuffie without success. Suarez indicated in words or substance that he was trying to deliver a shipment of narcotics to Cuffie. He expressed a sense of urgency in contacting Cuffie, indicating that he had an effing truck up there and suggested Cuffie was playing games. Suarez asked Tammy to contact Cuffie. Tammy had an alternate number for Cuffie, and as the toll and telephone records discussed above clearly demonstrate, Tammy reached out to Cuffie as Suarez requested. I know. At the evidentiary hearing, Tammy testified that contrary to statements in the affidavit, Agent Cromer was physically present with Tammy in Tammy's home during Tammy's call with Suarez and Gatling. Tammy denied that Agent Cromer overheard any of the calls via three-way. As this aspect of Tammy's testimony is not entirely credible in light of the other evidence of record. Specifically, Agent Cromer credibly testified that over the weekend of August 5th, he was in South Carolina on a family trip. Agent Cromer's credit card records, which were retrieved during the hearing, corroborated his testimony, as did the aforementioned toll call records. The toll records reflect that Tammy sent text messages and placed calls to Agent Cromer after first receiving the call from Suarez on August 5th, and reflect that Agent Cromer participated in at least one three-way call with Tammy and Cuffie. This girl in here lying. This is Cuffie's paperwork. Mud. Agent Cromer testified that the statements in the affidavit recounting the events of August 5th. Oh, no, I already told them that this is Cuffie paperwork. Dion Gatling is Cuffie. They following. Y'all following? Henny glasses in the chat if y'all following the paperwork. Yeah, it is. Hold on. What page we on? 18. We on 18. Let me go back up to the top. Right here. This is the memorandum. This is Cuffie's paperwork, Mud. See? You want me to zoom in? Let me zoom in a little bit so everybody can see that clearly. You see it? Yeah. Okay. All right. So now let me go ahead and let me do this. All right. We back down here. Let's get back to page 18 where we was. Okay, we was on 18 and we were right here. Okay, Agent Cromer testified that the statements in the affidavit recounting the events of August 5th were true, including statements that he overheard the conversation between Tammy and Suarez about the truck. Okay. However, it was clear from observing his testimony that Agent Cromer was unable to independently recall any specific content of the discussion between. Hold on, because I done zoomed this and I need to zoom this back out. Okay, there we go. Dang it, Mud. I'm about to, me and you gonna get in the grass. All right. However, it was clear from observing his testimony that Agent Cromer was unable to independently recall any specificity. He couldn't specifically recall any specifics of the content of the discussion between Tammy, Suarez, and Cuffie on August 5th. Nor could he recall whether he overheard live discussions between Tammy and Suarez and or Cuffie, or if he overheard recorded voicemail messages played back by Tammy. Okay, as set out above, telephone records demonstrate that Agent Cromer overheard one conversation between Tammy and Cuffie via three-way, but there is no evidence of a similar three-way call between Agent Cromer, Tammy, and Suarez. Although it is not entirely clear how Agent Cromer learned that Suarez told Tammy he had an effing truck in St. Louis and was trying to reach Cuffie, the credible evidence of record suggests that Agent Cromer either overheard Suarez make the statement when Tammy played back a recorded voicemail from Suarez, or he overheard Suarez's statement because Tammy repeated it to Gatling while Agent Cromer was listening on the three-way call between Cuffie, Tammy, and Cromer. Yes, Mud is in trouble. Absolutely. But it ain't just Meech. Meech and Tammy, no good. No good, according to this paperwork. No good. Okay. Regardless of how he learned of the content of Tammy's discussion with Suarez, Agent Cromer relayed the content of the discussion to DEA St. Louis agent at or near the time these events were unfolding. Telephone toll records reflect that beginning around 3:48 p.m. on August 5th, Agent Cromer made multiple calls to a DEA St. Louis desk agent and to DEA St. Louis Group Supervisor Kevin Markell. All right. In addition, testimony by Agent Johnson and TFO Lang established that on Sunday, August 5th, 2012, the DEA St. Louis office received notice from DEA Atlanta that an individual named Fidel Suarez had a truck believed to contain a shipment of narcotics in St. Louis destined for an individual known only to the DEA Atlanta office as Cuff. Because DEA Atlanta was already very familiar with the name Cuff as an alias or nickname for defendant Dion Gatling, DEA St. Louis Group Supervisor Kevin Markell assembled a team of investigators, which included Agent Johnson and TFO Lang and Buds, to follow up on information received from DEA Atlanta. This got my mind spinning. I'm tripping. I bet you are. Mud, you gonna come up later? And yes, I'm putting you on the spot in front of everybody. On August 6, 2012, the St. Louis investigative team, which included Agent Johnson, TFO Lang, and TFO Buds, spoke to Agent Cromer and perhaps other agents in Atlanta on conference call. Agent Cromer advised that St. Louis team of investigators that on August 5th, a DEA confidential source, Tammy, had been contacted by Fidel Suarez, a suspected drug transporter or source of supply. Agent Cromer advised St. Louis investigators that in attempting to put Cuffie and Suarez in contact with each other, there had been a flurry of phone calls between Tammy, Suarez, and Cuffie. The DEA St. Louis agent obtained Agent Cromer's permission to contact Tammy directly. All right, cool beans. Following the initial call with Agent Cromer, the St. Louis investigative team decided to pursue the investigation as such. TFO Lang continued the background investigation by conducting an interview of Tammy later on August 6th. So the next day, they conducted an interview with her. TFO Buds also pursued additional background information on August 6th by conducting physical surveillance of Cuffie and conducting a trash pull, which yielded nothing of evidentiary value. So they went through Cuffie garbage and everything. But y'all should know that they do that because if you watch The Wire on HBO, then you're very well versed with how they give it up. In debriefing Tammy on the evening of August 6, 2012, TFO Lang confirmed what had been reported by Agent Cromer and incorporated into the affidavit regarding the events of August 5th. Tammy also provided TFO Lang with 3 different telephone numbers for each individual during August 5th, each individual used during August 5th of 2012, including target phone 1, the subject of the wiretap authorization. Tammy also elaborated on the flurry of telephone calls with Suarez and Cuffie. When TFO Lang asked Tammy about the relationship between Suarez and Cuffie, Lang and Tammy had facilitated Tammy told TFO Lang that Tammy had facilitated the introduction of Suarez and Cuffie at Big Meech's request for the purpose of Suarez supplying Cuffie with multiple kilogram quantities of cocaine. Tammy told TFO Lang that Suarez and Meech had met while both were incarcerated in Detroit, Michigan, in the Detroit, Michigan area in 2005. Okay? Remember, I told y'all he was picked up in 2005 and 2009. And that Big Meech was going to receive some sort of financial benefit based on the drug trafficking. So he is behind bars with his hands still in some stuff, allegedly. Got to say allegedly for the channel. Based on the drug trafficking relationship between Suarez and Cuffie. Tammy told TFO Lang Tammy had never met either Suarez or Cuffie, but advised of telephone and or text contact with both. Tammy informed TFO Lang of at least one instance Tammy was aware of when Suarez visited St. Louis, which would have been in July of 2012. Tammy was aware of the visit because Suarez called Tammy and invited Tammy to meet him in St. Louis, but Tammy declined the invitation. Due to the St. Louis investigation team's knowledge and experience with Cuffie as a sophisticated large quantity drug distributor, and due to the team's knowledge of Suarez as a California-based large-scale drug distributor or source of supply, the team decided to pursue a Title III investigation. At that point, different people within the group were tasked with different responsibilities, but the team was collaboratively in conducting. The team worked collaboratively in conducting the investigation and incorporating their findings into the affidavit. As the most experienced member of the team, Agent Johnson was tasked with drafting the affidavit and analyzing telephone toll records of telephones used by Cuffie and Suarez. TFO Lang was tasked with investigating the individuals involved to learn more information about them, including researching DEA indices for criminal records and other criminal investigations. TFO Buds was tasked with surveilling and locating historical information on the subjects and investigation. Agent Johnson's analyst of telephone records and telephone toll analysis corroborated information provided by Tammy. So now you got all these agents. This one is doing this. That's basically what I just read to you guys, is this agent was taking care of this. So one agent was responsible for analyzing the phone calls and the telephone records. Another agent was tasked with doing surveillance and finding out as much backstory as they could find. Another agent. So this is basically what I'm just reading. Okay. All right, so Agent Johnson's analysis of telephone records and telephone tone calls analysis corroborated. We read that part already. For instance, telephone toll records demonstrated, and toll is the calls, demonstrated that consistent. Okay, for instance, telephone toll records demonstrated that consistent with Tammy's information. Tammy had extensive contact with Suarez in the year leading up to August 2012, and that Tammy had also been in contact with Gatling prior to August 5th of 2012, although to a lesser extent with Suarez. So she was talking to Suarez for a whole year, and then it kind of like trickled off, but she was still in communication with Cuffie. Toll and telephone record analysis, together with other historical information regarding Suarez's travel to St. Louis, also confirmed that consistent with Tammy's information. Suarez was in contact with Tammy in July of 2012 when he traveled to St. Louis. Telephone toll analysis further corroborated Tammy's information regarding the sequence of calls between Tammy, Suarez, and Cuffie on August 5th of 2012. In addition to the above-mentioned telephone toll analysis, St. Louis agents were also able to corroborate information provided by Tammy through PL1 data, historical information obtained by DEA and St. Louis police databases about Suarez, physical surveillance, and the team's own collective historical knowledge of Cuffie, Big Meech, and the BMF family's drug trafficking activities. In assessing the reliability of information provided by Tammy, the St. Louis agents also relied on representations by Agent Cromer that he had overheard the calls between Tammy, Cuffie, and Suarez on August 5th, and that Tammy had a history as a reliable DEA informant. Based on their information and collective experience of the St. Louis investigative team, Agent Johnson and his team concluded that controversial investigative tools such as physical surveillance, confidential informants, search warrants, trash seizures, electronic toll record analysis, witnesses and or target interviews, grand jury investigations, police reports, and other electronic surveillance, such as trap and trace devices and tracking devices and other methods, would be of limited use in advancing the investigation. All of that. They went through all of that. Okay, as such, the St. Louis investigation team applied for and on August 28, 2012, obtained judicial authorization for a wiretap of Cuffie's phone on August 5th of 2012. So I want to retract what I said in the beginning. This is not when he got picked up. This is when they started tracking him. She was getting paid, gold digger. She was getting paid with a little bit of penis on the side. That's what was happening. Okay. So now this says conclusion of law. All right. In the Franks versus Delaware case, the Supreme Court held that under limited circumstances, a defendant may attack the veracity of an affidavit after the warrant had been issued and executed. In so holding, the court recognized that notwithstanding the presumption of validity that attaches to an affidavit supporting a warrant, when the Fourth Amendment demands a factual showing of sufficiency to compromise probable cause, to observe assumption is that there will be a truthful showing. So this is what he was asking for, a truthful showing to be given to him. And so he ended up getting this Franks hearing. Now, they're breaking down the Franks here, okay? And we're going to go to here, where it says defendants have failed to provide preponderance of the evidence that government agents deliberately and recklessly included false statements in the affidavit that the material that are material to the findings of probable cause. Now, someone asked earlier about how he got jammed up. I have not read this right here, so we're going to read it first together for the first time. But I have had telephone conversations, and fuck it, I'll just say it. I've talked to Cuffie. And what happened is this right here, this initial investigation, with them putting him on a wiretap, ended up getting him jammed up on something else. But what they're trying to do, and the reason they're asking this is because he's saying, well, guess what? If you jammed me up and had me on a wiretap, and that wiretap is non-admissible, it's no good no more because your agent was sleeping with your CI. It's no good no more. Then you got to throw that wiretap out. And if you throw the wiretap out, then that means the other case gets thrown out as well. So now we're going to read this part. As you can't hear me? Can you hear me? Because you threw a microphone in here. Can you hear me? Can y'all hear me? Oh, okay. You confused me when you threw the mic. I'm like, wait a minute. Don't tell me y'all ain't hear all of that. All right. Defendants appear to contend that virtually all of the information in the affidavit that was central to probable cause determination was false, and suggest that all statements attributed to Agent Cromer and Tammy should be stricken from the affidavit. However, based on the foregoing factual findings, with one exception discussed below, none of the statements in the affidavit were the material to the finding of probable cause. Were material to the finding of probable cause, were false or misleading. it is sufficient that only 2 witnesses of the evidentiary hearing with firsthand knowledge of the events of August 5th, Agent Cromer and Tammy, testified consistently about the facts that are fundamental to any probe caused determination in this case. All right. In addition, although the testimony of Tammy and the testimony of Agent Cromer were discordant on a number of points, discordant, lies. Tammy and Agent Cromer were simpatico about the findings. Fidel Suarez, a suspected source of supply for defendant Cuffie, contacted Tammy on August 5th. Suarez told Tammy he had a truck in St. Louis for a narcotic transaction with Cuffie. Suarez was having trouble reaching Cuffie and asked Tammy for help. In attempting to help Suarez get in contact with Cuffie, Tammy had a flurry of calls with Cuffie and Suarez, and Tammy was ultimately successful in connecting Suarez and Gatlin, who were using the telephone that became the target of the wiretap. These facts were which were incorporated into the affidavit and are the heart of any finding of probable cause to authorize a wiretap of Cuffie's phones, were proven to be true based on testimony by Tammy, testimony by Agent Cromer, and other evidence presented at the Franks hearing. So that is where we're going to stop with this. The conclusion of everything after giving all of that information is, for all the foregoing reasons, defendant's joint motion to suppress electronic surveillance evidence should be denied. And that's where this one ends off at. But we're not done. Let me go ahead and minimize this. Let me bring you over here. I want to show you something else. I have something called the evidentiary. Okay. I have the list of the evidence, and I have some more questions. I have more questions. Okay. So we're going to take this down off the stage, and we're going to present the document of the evidence, because I want y'all to pay attention to this. This is from Cuffie's evidentiary hearing. This is where they had to bring all of the paperwork that they had. They had to make this case transparent, so to speak. Okay. And there are a couple of things that I highlighted. Oh, okay. I was looking to make sure it was scrolling. All right. There's a couple things that I highlighted in here and some things that y'all need to pay attention to. All right. This is U.S. versus Gatlin. So y'all see this. All right. You see the witnesses for the defendant. You know, you see Keith Cromer and all of that in there. You see CS1 as of August 17th. All right. Well, let's scroll on down and let's read what this says. Okay. Government's amended proposed exhibit list regarding the pretrial evidentiary hearing, motion hearing. Come now, the United States of America, by and through the attorneys Richard G. Callahan, United States Attorney for the Eastern District of Missouri. All right. And Dean R. Hoggs and Michael A. Riley, Assistant United States Attorneys for said district, and files its proposed amended exhibit list for pretrial evidentiary motion hearing. The government reserves the right to modify this list as needed. And I highlighted that for y'all right there. Let's see. Let me see if I can make this. I don't think I can make this bigger for y'all. No, I would have to zoom in. And if I zoom in, y'all ain't going to see nothing. Okay, so we're going to have to make it do what it do. So here's a standard list of things, right? And we get down here, you have the affidavit in support of the amended application and interception of the wire. Okay. You see amended order for interception of wire documents related to Dion Gatlin's conviction, which is Cuffie. And then you get right here to this M3 on 1018. It says documents related to DF's conviction. Let me see if y'all can figure this out for yourselves down here in the comment section. Who is DF? Y'all want to know who DF is? Let me show you. I can show you better than I can tell you. Don't worry. Let me pull this out. Let me pull this out so I could go ahead and show y'all. And I'm going to show y'all how this is figured out. Now, I want y'all to pay attention to this number right here. You see this 205CR08955, right? Well, when you put that in to the Google search engine, let's see what we pull up. You see 05CR08955. You hit that, and look what it brings you to. It brings you to this document right here. What is this document, Henny? Well, oh, ain't this Big Meech's case? Ain't this his case right here? Don't you see that same case number right here? 205CR80955. So if that's the case number on this documentation and this right here, let's read through just so nobody gets confused. All right. The names on this case right here: Terry Lee Flannery, Demetrius Edward Flannery. This is the Meech paperwork. That is their case number. So this right here says documents related to DF's conviction. So DF is Demetrius Flannery. Remember that this is in 2018 that this document is being filed. However, this case was going on 2010, I believe, is when it started. 2012 is when a lot of this stuff was going documented. In 2015, they were in court. Oh, okay. All right. So now this is back then. It also says DF USM 129. Then you get down here and it says FS. Well, who is FS? Fidel Suarez. But that's not what caught my eye, because now they've got the photos of the photograph of FS provided by Tammy. Okay, so she turned in the photo. This is Fidel Suarez's driver's license. And let me tell you something. It's not hard to figure things out when you sit and go through these papers with a fine-tooth comb. Okay, telephone records showing contact between Tammy, Cuffie, and Fidel. And these are more telephone records. All right. U.S. Airway records regarding Fidel Suarez's travel to St. Louis between July 10th and July 23rd. All right. But now let's keep on scrolling through the evidence, because I want y'all to see something. Right here, it says, oh, I'm not showing y'all. Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm not showing y'all. Let me go back. Let me go back. Because I just showed y'all that it's Demetrius Flannery. DF was him. That's Big Meech. So they have Big Meech's paperwork in Cuffie's case. And I believe this is U.S. Marshal 129, which is the marshal that had Big Meech. I'm not sure. I don't know, but I can't figure that part out. But I'm going to try to get to the bottom of what that is. And this is where you see the telephone calls and all of that. Okay. You see that they have the travel that happened from Fidel to St. Louis on U.S. Airways. All right. You got more telephone calls, reports relative to La Quinta receipts. They got everything up in here. Now, this right here is what I want y'all to see. Let me see if I can zoom in and y'all see it real good. Let me see if y'all can see that real good. You see this right here? It says DF letter to CS1. Demetrius Flannery letter to Tammy, September 23rd, 2014. Demetrius Flannery letter to Tammy, September 11th, 2014. But look over here. You see how everything else is dated and signed off on? They did not submit this. into evidence. And this is an evidentiary hearing. So they kept that confidential. They kept that confidential. All right. Let's keep on scrolling till we get to another. Okay, correspondence of Thomas, William Thomas. Don't know who that is, but that's also not given in this evidentiary. Okay, Buds regarding trash seizure of Cuffie on August 6th. That was also not submitted into this evidence. Okay, let me zoom out just a little bit because I want y'all to see everything. Okay, CS1 phone features. All right, we're going to keep scrolling. Oh, wait a minute. Did we miss it? I think we may have missed it. Hold on. Hold on. Right here. Is this it? No. So this is one of the documents. Hold on one second, y'all. But you see, he's been in contact with this girl. And there's no getting around that. Hold on, y'all. Because I got something else. If y'all think that was it, that's not it. There's more. All right. Let me go pull this up and let me get this document ready. My bad for not having the document together the way that I needed to have it together at this particular moment. But is this it? No, that's not it. Ooh. So if anyone is trying to say that Meech had no dealings with any of this at all, y'all see that this is not true. In fact, there is proof of him. Hold on. Is this it? No. It is that document. Okay, I'm showing y'all right. I got to keep going. That's what it is. I got to keep going. My bad. Right here. Here we go. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages. All right. I want y'all to feast your eyes on this right here. Let me zoom in for y'all. Let me make sure y'all see this good because ain't no questions. We're going to zoom in. All right. And then we're going to slide over. Right here where the date is highlighted. All right. It says series of payments to CSI, which would be Tammy. That's not unusual. But right here, it says series of deposits made into incarcerated individuals to accounts. More than one. S, individuals, accounts. So here you have an evidence that there's been payment to Tammy and payment to incarcerated individuals. Now, if you would like to know who that person was or what that actually means, let me play this recording for y'all. All right, so I do know about the evidence. I know that the initials DF are in there. I put that together to be Demetrius Flannery because who else would it be? I did see that there were deposits. Well, I saw that Tammy got paid more than once on the case because she's CS1. And then I saw sometime in October that there were deposits, multiple deposits is what it says, to incarcerated individuals with an S, accounts with an S. So I was wondering who that was. Was that Meech that they were paying off? And if so, who was the other person? Because S means more than one.
Yeah, she testified that she would put money on both of their accounts, Jerry White and Demetrius Flannery's account. But it wasn't no type of payoff because the payments were really small. Meech had one payoff that the only payoff that he was interested in was a time cut.
Wow. But he did receive funds off of this.
He did receive funds.
Now, I'm not leaking the rest of that because I do have the interview coming for y'all. But do y'all need me to roll that beautiful beam footage back again for y'all? That is the voice of Cuffie. That is Cuffie's recording. Let me play that again for y'all. They were paying off, and if so, who was the other individuals one? And then I saw in sometime in October that there were deposits, multiple deposits is what it says, to incarcerated individuals with an S, accounts with an S. So I was wondering who that was. Was that Meech that they were paying off? And if so, who was the other person? Because S means more than one.
Yeah. She testified that she would put money on both of their accounts, Terry White and Demetrius Flaherty's account. But it wasn't no type of payoff because the payments were really small. Meech had one payoff that the only payoff that he was interested in was a time cut.
Wow. But he did receive funds off of
He
this.
did receive funds. And I'm talking about some very small. The numbers were very small. A couple $1,000 here, a couple $1,000 there. But
now, couple $1,000 here, couple $1,000 there. This is his lifelong. Well, this is a friend and a business associate, a partner of his. And he and Tammy put this play into motion. So you sold your friend up the river for a couple $1,000 because all you wanted was some time off. Now, I'm going to let y'all know right now. I have more information for y'all. This is just the beginning. I have more information for y'all. But let that marinate. Tammy worked to get Cuffie. Well, she worked and got Cuffie put in Click Click City. But I'm going to let Cuffie tell y'all who the original target was and break some more information down because I do have an interview coming with him very soon. And y'all are going to get to hear more from Cuffie. But as you can see, Tammy was definitely working in capacity for Big Meech. And Big Meech didn't want his name caught up in any of this, even though he put her in contact with Fidel Suarez and put her in contact with Cuffie. You cannot tell me that he was unaware you gave her your life rights, which to this day, to all of our knowledge, she still holds. She was the one that partnered to do the deal for BMF. She's co-producer on that project. So now the question comes into play. Has 50 been holding this information, or did he just get this information? And is this the information that is about to hit the airwaves? Who was threatening Tammy? There were threats coming to Tammy on behalf of keeping Meech's name out of all of this. But as you saw, it wasn't, because it is in court docs unredacted. From the chain of events that we have seen, it is safe to say that Meech was aware that she was working. But we're going to get into all of that in another video. Anyone have any questions, you can ask them down below. Again, this has been Who is Tammy Cowin? And I hope that this answers some questions for you. Because while there has been a lot that has been said, I didn't want to just go off of what's being said. I wanted to actually bring y'all documentation to back up what's being said for you, the public, to see what is in the public record and for you to figure it out as to who she is. But I stand on my thumbnail and I say that she was Meech's bottom and that she was working and working real hard to try to get him out early. Replay gang, y'all let me know what y'all think down in the comment section below. Thank y'all for tapping in and tuning in. I appreciate y'all. This was a long one, but it was a good one. And don't worry, we have very, 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 very big files coming. There's a lot of information that we're going to delve into. This is only the beginning. I'll see y'all in the next video. Thank y'all for tapping in and tuning in. Love is always love, y'all. See y'all in the next one. Oh, tonight we have Mud and Ray coming up for an impromptu conversation with Henny. Y'all don't want to miss that. So I will see y'all at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for conversation with Henny with special guests Mud and Ray from Detroit. They're going to talk to us about how the temperature of Detroit is and their thoughts and their feelings on this situation, being that they are so close to it. We're going to get all into that and have a really good, funky, good time with the conversation. Make sure y'all have y'all Henny, and I'll see y'all there, guys. Peace, everybody.